Meet me, Kim Wilson. I believe love wins. I've been married to my amazing husband for over 14 years. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. My parents did a wonderful job of loving me. I am the youngest of 3 siblings. I have 2 brothers and 1 sister. My favorite food are buffalo wings. If there's no blue cheese, go ahead and suspend that whole transaction. Honey, I gotta have the blue cheese. Professionally, I am a licensed professional counselor in private practice. I am also a podcaster and motivational speaker. Oh yes, we're all more than just one thing at any given time. I love inspiring the masses. It's my purpose. I use my education in human behavior to facilitate dynamic workshops and live events about building healthy relationships. I am the creator of I Need a Session, which is a YouTube show and ebook. My favorite word is amazing. It's better than average and okay. My motto is, why settle for okay when amazing is an option? Happy Thursday to you. Thank you so much for joining. We are going to have a wonderful 15 to 20 minutes together this evening. I have a very special guest in the house with me this evening. Stand by. Roll that clip for me, Brita. Meet Charlton Rhodes. Originally from Fort Myers, Florida, he is a licensed clinical social worker with a private practice in Atlanta, Georgia. Charlton is the author of the best-selling book, The Dating Cookbook, 5 Things to Know About Men and Women While Dating. Charlton is a devoted father of 2 children. He is passionate about music, sports, traveling, social justice, and mental health in the Black community.
Hello.
Charlton.
Hey, Kim. I think your mic got muted out, but how you doing?
I'm doing well. Wait a minute. My mic is muted. Hold on.
You're good now.
We're live. We're good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, when you go live, all kinds of things.
Everything goes crazy.
Yes, the first part of your intro was cut off there, but I'm going to run it on social media tomorrow. We got to get the full essence of Charlton Rhodes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. No problem. It looked good, though. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, thank you for joining me. We are talking about when men heal. Yeah. I love talking about healing in general. I'm passionate about when men heal because there is some language around we talk about the healing of men. When we think about it in a traditional sense, people use words like strong, tough, provider to describe men. And it's almost like they're not supposed to have any emotions connected to them. At least that's how it used to be traditionally. I'm glad the language is changing a little bit and we can use words like vulnerability, transparency. Charlton, what do you think about that? What's the first thing that even comes to your mind when I say when men heal?
When I hear that, it's giving men a space to express themselves, because typically we do operate in isolation quite a bit. We just put our heads down, and if something is bothering us, I was raised in the era where big boys don't cry. Ooh. So now we're evolving to a place where I still believe big boys don't cry about everything. We should be able to handle some things, but never in isolation on a regular basis. We should be able to express ourselves without the judgment. So that's what I think we're getting to.
Oh, I want to go. You said 2 words that I really want to get to. One, I want to start with isolation, because that is the thing that sets up the pathway to dysfunction. Talk to me a little bit about the isolation. When men go into isolation, what's happening there?
We try to figure out solutions on our own. I'm sure you remember growing up before GPS navigation came out. It was a cliche that men don't like to ask for directions. Yeah. And you can apply that across the board in every area of life. It's sort of like, I think it's maybe intrinsically in us to try to figure it out ourselves as much as possible. And it's something that we are starting to learn that may not be healthy, especially as life and the world we're living in, this ecosystem is changing constantly. So we're having to adapt constantly.
Yeah.
So that means asking for help.
Asking for help. You just the other word that stood out for me that you used was judgment.
Mhm.
We don't want to be judged. So if a man, if he feels like he's going to be judged, what is it? Is that judgment connected to like being weak or not being
Mhm.
a, what is that judgment connected to?
Yeah, well, just think about the perception of having your hand out, asking for help. That can be perceived as I can't do it all, which can
Mm,
be internalized as weakness. I need
mhm.
help, not
Yeah.
being self-sufficient. That's something that it takes maturity and growth to realize that you cannot do anything really in life significant in isolation.
You just said a word that stood out for me. You said it takes maturity.
Yeah,
Oh
it
boy.
does. Yeah,
Oh boy, let's get to that.
right.
Because sometimes when we get in relationships, and if people don't always know it, but that maturity certainly can be a barrier to not having maturity, can be a barrier to having a healthy relationship. So
Hmm.
when we have sat inside of dysfunction for so long, so I just want to break open what immaturity looks like.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because that can be a symptom that we probably need some healing.
Hmm. Yeah, it can have a negative connotation. I could interchange that word with lack of experiences. Like
Mm,
I'm learning as I grow that a lot of things that I thought were correct are not. There's a lot of things we learn by trial and error, failure, and humility is gained. I think if we remain curious and connect to a source that helps us to grow, whether it be therapy, some type of mentorship, something that is greater than ourselves and our own knowledge, then it gives us the potential to mature or evolve, whatever word you want to use. But again, you can't do it in isolation. You got to be plugged into something that can help you grow.
so, Charlton, that sounds good. I love it. Here's the thing, and even just being with a client today,
Mhm.
sometimes when I am in session with a woman, when a woman is my client,
Mhm.
she can always make her man, her husband, go to therapy.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, it's like it's almost like, we're going to see the boogeyman.
Yeah. Of course.
so
Yeah.
so Charlton, as a therapist, what is your perspective on how do people get men to come into therapy? From your experience, how does that even happen if they have some resistance in that area?
I think just exposure because mental health in general is still a lot of stigma around it.
Mm-hmm.
I think back in 2020, everyone really probably came to the point where they realized when the pandemic started that we all could use help managing stress and anxiety.
Mm.
And for men to just hear other people talk about the real tangible benefits, because I think that's big for men, figuring out why am I doing something and getting over the fear of being judged, particularly.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to feel judged. Majority of my clients are men, and they've come from different walks of life, different parts of the world, different age, different gender orientation, sexual orientation. I'm sorry, but it's just one person telling another person and continually um, giving it more exposure. So the more we hear about people going to therapy, healing, getting something tangible out of it, I think it'll just continue to build like that.
Yeah. There are some national statistics out there
Hmm.
that reports women are twice as likely to seek therapy
Right.
more than men.
Hmm.
And for the men who do seek therapy, 90% of them say it is a positive experience for them.
Yep. I would say I've seen that because I believe women probably naturally support each other a little bit more than we do. Again, isolation is what we are typically prone to. But just getting over the hump of going through the process and reaching out, and then that first session where they realize that it's nothing mysterious about it. I usually tell people up front what the expectations are. It's just a connection, creating a safe space where you won't be judged. There's no bias, and they can express themselves and just bounce ideas off of someone. That's extraordinary for some men. And then as the relationship builds, I tell them that 80% of therapy is a relationship, I believe, and just connecting with another human being. And I also let them know that I'm not the expert on anything. So I can't say, oh, you are wrong. I tell people that most of the time you're the expert of your own life. I'm just here to ask you some good questions to get you to think in some different ways. And we challenge each other. That's the part of the relationship that I love too, as a therapist.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of great things here. Charlton has really set the pathway up for us. This is how we get men to heal. One of the things that I heard first, Charlton said, we got to get them out of isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in isolation, we can't water you there. We can't, expose you
Yeah.
to that great information. Secondly, exposure, just even
Mm-hmm.
exposing the person to, like, there's nothing mysterious about this process.
Mm-hmm.
This is a place where you can discuss, release, express. And I even like your language around, you are the expert on your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when people come into that therapeutic space, they
Yeah.
feel, they automatically see the clinician as
Yeah.
the authority figure.
Right. Mm-hmm. In some senses, it may be true. I've worked with some younger clients, some high school seniors, college students.
Mm-hmm.
So at my age, you kind of naturally assume a certain role, but
Mm-hmm.
I always try to empower the individual, especially the language that I think men respond well to is being empowered, giving them, just that confidence to continue to open up and express themselves. Because we have emotions. We're pegged as being unemotional, but we
Mm-hmm.
have really strong emotions. We just don't know how to communicate them.
Yeah.
So,
And there was a word that you used earlier just to connect that with those strong emotions. And how we heal that is learning to express that.
mhm.
Sometimes we don't have the tools or the information.
Yeah.
And when we walk into a therapeutic space, we can actually start modeling, like, this is how you do it. And sometimes it's what people want.
You're
So,
right.
and the thing that stood out for me the most too, Charlton, was that word judgment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's in the back of our minds. We know our flaws and weaknesses before anyone else does. We're sometimes our worst critic. We're tough on ourselves, and it's really having another set of eyes that are looking at your life just for an hour a week, maybe, to see the strengths and pull out the strengths that you may not know you have. And majority of my clients are really smart, successful people, and they're looking for that one missing piece sometimes, where um, it's they've been putting their value. This is a theme, I would say. They've been putting their value in things that are external. That's the one thing that's consistent that I point out.
Mm-hmm.
The value doesn't come from the external. It's the internal that we're trying to heal and grow, because most men of my era were taught that we are only as valuable as what we produce.
Mm.
What do you bring to the table in a tangible way? So that is something that we're trying to correct, or just bring some clarity around, so that they can see the other things that are truly valuable, which are internal.
Yeah. Um, I want to pull out that word weakness for a second, and I want to go
Mhm.
to the word vulnerability. I
Mhm.
want to put vulnerability on top of weakness.
Okay.
When we are able to, when men are able to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
Um, in my work with women, the word that I would hear often when with some of that internal conflict
Mhm.
is when they don't feel confident. The word that
Okay.
I hear men, the word that I have heard men use more often is feeling inadequate,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
just working to heal that space. When
Yeah.
men feel inadequate, how do we heal that? What's the language around that? How do you work with that inadequacy?
Um, I start with I start with self acceptance, and not just with men, with everyone. But self acceptance is the mental shift, because I try to point out how we struggle when our minds and emotions and actions don't align. When there's a disconnect with those three, we struggle as human beings. But acceptance is basically distilled down to one phrase that I've coined, that I am imperfect, but that's okay. That encompasses the past, the present, and tomorrow, because we all, we make mistakes. We're flawed. Our society reinforces outcomes and perfection more than anything these days. So
Mm.
as they process that I can still be valuable being imperfect, that's the thought that will trigger the emotion of self-love. Self-love means I'm still worthy, even though I'm imperfect, even though I don't produce at the highest level all the time. And then emotions drive behavior. So the last part is connecting the body to all that, which is self-care. Self-care is painted as an extravagant gesture sometimes, but I encourage them to just make it a daily deposit to prove to themselves that they are valuable and loved based on their imperfections, not their outcome. So the mind is acceptance, and then it drives self-love, which is the emotion to drive the self-care that fills their cup daily. Then there's no inadequacy at the point. Nobody can tell you that you're not enough at that point, because you believe for yourself that you are. And that becomes a habit. It becomes subconscious at a point. And I think the world we're in is starving for acceptance. You may see that quite a bit too. Everybody's hanging their value on external, whatever it may be. This culture of social media is everybody's best day, a collection of everybody's best moment, which can paint a picture that, oh, my life is not that great. They're doing this, they're doing that, they have this, I don't. It's not about that. It's about the imperfections, even though I'm imperfect. I have flaws. I didn't have that growing up. Nobody taught me how to do this. We don't have a lot of fathers in the Black community that are showing examples. So we pull it from wherever, media, TV, music. And usually that's not painted in a healthy way for us to really apply our lives to that. So we
Mm.
reframe all of it.
Oh, look at those tools: self-acceptance, self-care, reframing. Come through, counselor.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm work mode.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hi, Tamika. Hi, Lawanda. Thank you for joining. Tamika said, fill that cup daily. Yes. I love that daily deposits. Oh my goodness. We really could break this. We could break
Yeah.
this
This
topic.
will be part one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? I gotta set something up, set something else up with Charlton. He's actually an author as well, as you saw in the intro. His book, Charlton. Do you have your book with you?
Yep. The dating cookbook right here. It's now available on Amazon. The dating cookbook, 5 things to know about men and women while dating. Just released in November.
Oh, so I just ordered my book. I'm waiting for my book to arrive. I ordered my book on yesterday. When I
Mhm.
get my book, I want us to do something. I want you all to get your book too. So we can actually, I want to be able to break this book open, read a couple of parts, and have Q&A. I mean,
Okay.
who don't love a good question Q&A around dating,
Yeah.
love, relationships? Come on.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
I love rocking and rolling in that lane. So yeah, we have
Hmm.
to set something up, bring out our books, everybody,
Yeah.
get your favorite beverage, and we're gonna, we can
Hmm.
do like a fireside chat.
There
And
you go.
yeah, so I'm thinking we'll probably set something up for July. We're heading towards the end of June.
Yeah.
That way you all go ahead and get your books ordered. It's on Amazon. I'll put it in the notes as well, so you can link to it after the show.
Hmm.
So it give me to tomorrow so it can update. So you'll be able to click on the link and go directly to Amazon and purchase your book. You don't even have to wait on that. You can actually go to Amazon tonight
Yeah.
and search for the book, so we can all kind of have the books in our hand and read from it.
Thank you.
Yes. Charlton, you could have been anywhere in this world, but you chose to rock and roll with me tonight. Where, if somebody wanted to connect with you, how can they reach you?
Well, I am on Instagram at the Dating Cookbook IG. So I'll show it to you again. The Dating Cookbook IG is my Instagram. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, Charlton Rhodes, LCSW. But Instagram is probably the best way to reach me.
Okay. And I'll make sure that I put Charlton's Instagram information in the notes as well, so you can find him on Instagram. Yeah, so we hung out for about 20 minutes. If you want more, you got to let me know that you want more. And then, we'll see how we can set it up for you, but we're definitely coming back. We got a lot of stuff to break open. Charlton, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Tamika, thank you for putting that up for us. The Dating Cookbook IG, that's the Instagram.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. You could have been anywhere in this world, but you hung out with Kimmy. Remember, stop settling for okay when amazing is an option. I'll see you next Thursday at 9:30.
That's right. Thank you.